Welcome back. Well, from the moment we become parents, it's our intrinsic desire to protect our children from anything negative. It can be extremely tempting to wrap them in cotton wool and prevent them from experiencing life's trials and pitfalls. But could our drive to shield our sons and daughters actually be doing them more harm than good? It seems Reese Witherspoon thinks so. The mother of three saying recently she takes a tough love approach with her kids, frequently taking a hard line with discipline. So, for today's agenda, we are asking, are parents too soft on their kids these days? And do we all need to practice a little more tough love? And I'm joined by father of four and celebrity trainer Steve Commando Willis and parenting expert Dr. Joanne Orlando. Good morning. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
You're laughing already, Steve.
Oh. I think the perception of me already
the tough guy tag.
Yeah.
But there's a very big heart in there as well. We know that.
Definitely.
Father of four, and you really have the very broad spectrum of ages, don't you, ranging from teenagers to a toddler or 3-year-old. How do you go about parenting, generally speaking?
Well, discipline has been a big part of my life, and I, as we were talking about before, running a tight ship I think is important, and making sure the children know who's in charge, you know, who's steering the ship. And actually I had a moment last night with my almost 3-year-old Axel, and I had to sit him on the end of the bed and have a stern conversation with him about who's running the show. And he was using the tears as a means to get his own way.
Yeah, they're pushing buttons already by that age, aren't they?
It's amazing the kind of the manipulations and the things that they do to try and create distractions. But I think more so than anything, you need to be aware of self. There needs to be that observation, so you don't get caught up too much in how do I say this, reacting. You need to kind of step back and be more pragmatic in your approach when it comes to the tough love.
You need to be so disciplined with yourself.
Well, yeah, it definitely starts with self, and you can't be pointing the finger and saying do this, do that, all from the lounge chair.
Joanne, what are your thoughts generally with all the people you see day to day? Have we made the mistake of trying to be our children's friends, do you think?
Yeah, friends, and over-telling them how wonderful they are. You know, you're beautiful, you're fantastic, you're
too
the
lavish
most
in
amazing.
the praise.
Just lavishing them in praise, because what it does is it gives them a false sense of who they are and how wonderful they actually are. So when they're in the playground or things don't really go their way, they haven't really developed the right sort of strategies to be able to deal with it and get over it. So it's about being tough with them, but I'm going to strip some of your toughness away because I know what you were saying earlier. It's also about being really supportive and loving with them. It's just finding that nice balance for children.
But just with that, lavishing them with praise and trying to be their friends, is that a direct sort of rebellion to the way we were parented, do you think? Because in one generation it seems to have flipped quite dramatically.
It has. I know for when I was growing up it wasn't about that, but I know I've spoken to a number of parents who just say, you know, I want my child to be really confident, I want them to have good self-esteem, so I just tell them how great they are all the time. But we know that doesn't quite work because it leads to, well, what people would call like spoilt brat. It just leads to overindulged children.
Why do you reckon we've become a bit soft on the
I think very much that we want to provide, we want to give them an environment that they can flourish in, and we've definitely become more emotionally engaged, you know, over the decades, and our understanding around that. But I don't think we've quite figured that out exactly, even for ourselves as adults, and what that means. So we tend to go to one end of the spectrum more so before that needle rights itself in the middle. And I think bringing back some of that pragmatic approach with the discipline and the like. But first and foremost, we need to have that approach with ourselves. And I think that comes down to character, our character traits, and the values and attributes, and upholding those. And you know, in our family, it's when things aren't going the way that we think they should be going with the kids, we make it inclusive. We don't tend to leave the others over there and single one out. And with my sons, I actually get them there and hold both their hands so that they know that this is to be taken on by everybody. Whereas I know growing up, if my dad was disciplining one of my brothers, we'd be in the background going... We'd be
all running in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
Especially if the wooden spoon was brought out.
But,
or the thong.
Yeah, I think it's all about that team and family being a team as such, and the morale and the cohesion, and we're all singing from the same sheet of music.
I really love that approach, Joanne. I think that makes a whole lot of sense to keep it in as a group.
No, I do too, and I was nodding the whole time that you were saying that. I agree. It's that sense of togetherness, the sense that you've got each other's back. You know, when things don't go your way, you know that mum or dad or the siblings are supporting you. It's not like they're snickering behind your back, but also helping you get through that bad, uncomfortable thing as well, because you have to get past it. You know, you can't keep dwelling on these things. So we have to let kids know it's okay to feel uncomfortable. I'm there to support you, but, you know, over time you will get over it. Depends on how severe the thing is.
I like what you were saying, the strategies, and it's through the difficult times and the uncertainty and the unknown that where we can unite and come together, we come up with solutions. But if we all end up sympathetic and, you know, a ball of emotion, we just kind of wallow in that. And you know, someone's got to take the reins. You know, it's like the boat with everybody and everyone's flipping out. One calm person can calm everybody down and come up with an approach to get you out of danger.
I love that analogy. Joanne, what are your thoughts on the other parents letting us down? I am so sick to death of hearing, oh, Johnny's allowed to, his parents are... You know, they use that as a benchmark. I'm sure there's a little bit of psychological, you know, reckoning behind it as well. But what do we do there? Do we bend to what other parents are doing, or do we stand firm and stick to our own rules?
No, you don't bend.
It's hard not to fold.
It's so hard. One, you don't necessarily have a 100% accurate story about what's happening over in that other family, so there's always that to think about. But if you continuously bend to what the other family is doing just so your child isn't hurt, or their feelings aren't hurt, or they're not missing out, then you're just way too flexible in your parenting, and that shows a lack of strength, that you don't have things in control. You're not looking after your own family, and you're not being a very good role model for your child. You don't want them to continually sway with what other people are doing, so you don't want to model that kind of behaviour yourself.
Kids thrive with boundaries.
That's why I make mine do burpees every morning.
I was about to ask if they do push-ups.
No, I think just with our physical beings and the job that I do, and living and breathing that whole health, well-being and fitness, that's a norm for my kids. So that participation piece, you know, they're not even really thinking about it. They see that that's what mum and dad do, and they participate. Like Axel, sometimes when we go to leave the house, and I keep talking about Axel, he's not even 3 yet. He's got his own little exercise regime that we can be standing at the front door, and until he's kind of done what he feels that he needs to do, he'll leave everyone waiting. And it's like, come on, buddy, let's go. But it's important across the board to be united and to really show that strength as a parent, but not so much that they're scared of you, or there's a lot of fear.
That's the extreme version of tough love. You know, get over it, get on with life, but no love part in it. It's about being real. It's about helping them deal with the uncomfortable situations, but about, like you were saying, you know, you're in this together. Well, let's work it out together. Work out strategies to move forward.
Well, it's so important for the parents to be united, isn't it? In terms of, and I reckon that can cause a lot of friction and tension in a household as well, if you're not on the same page as the disciplinarian parents.
That's right. So if you've got good cop, bad cop parent, which a lot of families do have, you know, one takes the extreme side, the other one is a lot softer, that is very difficult for a child to negotiate, because they're getting mixed messages. What do I do? Can I cry for hours about this, or should I just, you know, get over it and get out the door?
But it's also an invitation for them to play one off against
us. Yes, that's right,
So your advice on that is be united if you can.
Be united where you can. You can't be 100% of the time, because, you know, sometimes you're dealing with it alone as a parent, but to have the same kind of message, and it's probably something that you need to talk about as well with your partner, just to make sure you're on the same page.
It can be difficult to actually talk about, and that depends on the mood of self as well, and everything else that's been going on in the day. But I think it's also important with the children, excuse me, to differentiate between self and behaviour. And that's what I do with my kids. I'm not pointing the finger at them and like disciplining them as such. It's the behaviours that they've adopted, and we say, you know, that's not behaviour that's accepted in this house, or, you know, we don't as a family accept that type of behaviour, you know, is there another way in which we can approach that? And I even put it onto my kids, you know, especially the older ones. You know, is that acceptable behaviour? Should you be doing it that way? Is there another way? And it stops them. They go, oh, hang on a sec. Well, mine do anyway.
You've got me thinking. You've got me thinking.
Well, I guess I do that for myself too.
Exactly.
And there's those. You know, we hear every day about making choices, and a lot of the time we kind of fold to things, or we're reactive to what presents itself, and we kind of get caught up in it rather than just step back and choose whether we respond or not.
And that's a really good tip that we'll end on, that I remember very early on, it's the behaviour that's naughty, it's not the child who's naughty.
That's right.
We need to always remember that.
That's right. So I'm not being critical of you,
Yeah.
I'm being critical of what you just did, your behaviour. And that's a big difference.
Yeah. I tell you what, it's a minefield, that parenting thing, isn't it? No one really tells you heading into it. But as I say to my kids, I've got my learner plates on, I'm doing the best I can.
Lovely.
And I love you more than anyone else in the world. So good to have you both here this morning. Thank you so
Georgie.
much. I've learned a lot. Over to you, Carl.
What kid's going to say no to Commando?
Yeah, no problem, Dad. I'll do the gutters and paint the house, Dad, no problem.
Shot to the best.
That's it. Let's punch out 75 before the Weet-Bix.
All right.